verrückt, wie klein die Welt ist.
It's crazy how small the world is.
Wo ist das Fenster? I read this one line in a psych textbook way back in 1974 at the University of Waterloo, and for some reason it stuck in my brain. It seemed simple enough to say, and I thought, maybe someday I could learn German. Wo ist das Fenster? It's easy. Then, in 1978, I did a one-term exchange with Edinburgh University. Of course, I took advantage of travel when I was over there, spending a lot of time youth hosteling. I found that most of my fellow hostelers were from Australia and Germany. It was a fun time getting to know others from around the world. Now, one of the German guys, Michael, invited me to stay with his family in Stuttgart on my way to Lahr, Germany, where I would be visiting friends stationed at the Canadian base there. So, always up for an adventure, wasn't long before I was in Stuttgart. I took the tram to get to Michael's home, but somehow got lost en route. So I asked the tram driver for directions, but it was 1978 and not so many folks spoke English. So I asked in French for some reason, like that was going to help me. He called back to the passengers to see if anyone spoke English. A very nice young woman came to my rescue, and not only did she give me directions, but she escorted me to Michael's home. Embarrassed about the inconvenience I had caused, I thought that maybe one day I should learn enough German so I could get around on my own when traveling. Fast forward 35 years to my retirement as principal and the new luxury of time to do things I had not had the time to do. After visiting with friends, the Kisnats in Germany, I started to look around for German language schools and settled on Capito in Münster. My host family, the Kisnats, always gave me a warm welcome and made me feel right at home. Over the years, I'd become good friends with the family, particularly Timo and Elmer, because their English is so good and because they're such whizzes with computer help. Not to mention their early days of teaching me some German.
Well, I'm yet not sure, or I have to think about your first German word you said, because that's almost 15 or 14 years ago. I think it started off with something like das Fenster.
The first thing was, wo ist das Fenster? After that, there was this funny moment you went to a bakery and getting some buns, and he just pointed out on them and said eins, 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 eins.
With some trepidation, at age 60, I found myself back in school. And to my surprise, I passed the intro-level course. However, when I got home, I knew that I was stumped by the case, or casus, that is. There are 16 ways of saying the in German. The spoon, der Löffel, is masculine. The knife, das Messer, is neutral. Die Gabel is feminine, fork. So you have der, das, and die. Piece of cake, you say, but wait, there's more. If you take the spoon and you place it on the table, der Löffel becomes den Löffel because it's masculine and the article changes. Now, if the spoon is just lying on the table, then the table is dem Tisch because that's the dative case. We have two spoons and that becomes die Löffel. If we take the knife, das Messer, and place it on the table, it is the accusative, but because it's neutral, it remains das Messer. But because the table is masculine and therefore accusative when you're placing the knife on the table becomes den Tisch. And now enter the newspaper, die Zeitung, which is feminine. If the fork is just lying on the newspaper, in the dative case then, it takes on the masculine article, der Zeitung. And then there's genitive, which is possessive. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm thinking of getting a tutor because I'm having so much trouble with casus.
Yeah, gute Idee, good idea, but good advice is not to get one from Munich or this area, because the accent is not good to understand. Yeah, it's really hard, even for me, to understand their German.
I'm Ferdinand Wilhelm from Munich, and I'm Martin's tutor. I meet up with Martin usually weekly, sometimes bi-weekly if my time doesn't allow for it. I enjoy languages a lot, language learning, especially learning German with Martin. And other than that, in my free time, I like to do sports, go snowboarding back in the Alps. I haven't been yet in Toronto, but the water is also very nice. I like the city a lot.
The Toronto Reference Library offers study rooms that you can book for free. We met at the library for our weekly tutorials, and as it turns out, after a Skype session with Elmer, it turns out that he was impressed with Ferdy's accent, even though he's from Munich.
As they are. So
not only is Ferdy's German perfect, his English is perfect, and his grasp of English grammar, nuance, pronunciation is also exemplary.
I'll give you a better example.
We would start all of our tutorials with dialogue, and at times I found myself just nodding my head, even though I didn't understand what Ferdy was saying, because it was early in the days and I didn't have a lot of language, I didn't have a lot of words. And I understand now why folks learning a new language nod their heads so much, because you get tired of wondering what the other person is thinking about you, and that you're actually that dumb that you haven't a clue what they're saying.
Insgesamt 4 Kasus. Es gibt den Nominativ, den Dativ. Ähnlich wie im Englischen gibt es im Deutschen das direkte Objekt und das indirekte Objekt. Beide unterscheiden sich in der Funktion im Satz und basiert Dativ und den Akkusativ. Der Genitiv ist für viele Leute ein bisschen... That's Kasus.
Okay, wo ist das Fenster?
Da ist das Fenster. Der Topf, sehr gut.
And Messer is knife, das Messer.
Spitze, sehr gut.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm not prepared for you speaking German, it's, yeah, like you say, it's like a slight Klingon accent to it.
Möglich. Every once in a while, Ferdy would come up with one of these cool ideas to enhance our tutorial. And one way was to work on my pronunciation, so I sounded less like a Klingon. Beunruhigend.
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 Ja.
Die Geschwindigkeitsbegrenzung.
Sehr gut.
Rex.
Rechts.
Rex.
Rechts.
Rex.
Rechts.
Rex.
Rechts.
Rechts.
Sehr gut. Rechts.
Rechts. So after a while, it was back to Münster to visit with my friends the Kisnets, and also to go back to Capito for another 2-week intensive language course to see how my German was coming along. Back in class, and once again, I passed the course. But upon my return home, I had a bit of a cold and was feeling kind of under the weather for a while. I felt I sort of had swollen glands. But then after a couple of months, there was this one on my left side, and I thought, it's not going away. I went to my doctor to have things checked out, and I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I was sent to Princess Margaret and went through 4 months of chemotherapy. I didn't want all of my work that I put into learning German to go to waste. And I was happy to find out that about day 10, 11, after each chemo treatment, I was able to meet Ferdy for a tutorial. We didn't try any new material, but used these sessions for review. My oncologist seemed delighted that I was learning German during my treatment because he said that it could help to prevent chemo brain. After 4 months of chemo, I was able to ring the victory bell, and after a month of radiation, I rang the courage gong. I am now in remission. After a few months of rest, I decided to get back to Münster and Capito to see how my German was doing. So I got a great deal on the Queen Mary 2 and took a relaxing trip across the ocean. It was great to travel and break out of the doldrums, and it was fun to be back with my friends the Kisnets. And my appetite was back, and I started to put weight back on, including the Kuchenbuffet, all-you-can-eat cake. And it turned out Ferdy did such a good job that they moved me up a grade. Of course, I was always the oldest kid in the class, but no one really seemed to mind. All too soon, it was time to head back home. On a few of the occasions, I get some of my words mixed up, like zurück, which means back, and verrückt, which means crazy. When I got back, I wanted to set up a tutorial with Verdi as soon as possible to build on what I had learned at Capito.
I put my computer on your desk.
Okay, ich stelle meinen Computer auf deinen Schreibtisch.
Sehr gut. Spitze.
Das erste Mal.
Das erste Mal sehr gut, ja.
When I was back to Münster for Elmer and Saskia's wedding, I thought it was time to test my knowledge of German and go into town on the transit by myself to buy a pair of trousers and a shirt. Turns out, I made out just fine, and thanks to the friendly bus driver and all the friendly folks in the department store as well. I was very pleased with myself that I was able to make out very well just by myself.
So, unicorn pictures, Martin, take one. So we were sitting at the bakery and I was listening with half an ear to Martin. Well, I was talking to my wife, so I heard Martin talking to my mom, one sentence in German, and he said a second one, and the third, and the fourth, and I said that, and I thought, yeah, this guy has really done it learning German because he's been talking fluent German for almost 1 or 2 minutes, so go ahead.
Ich habe eine kurze Frage für dich.
Okay.
Und es ist nicht Mitternacht.
Yeah, but remember my brain, at 10:30, it's my English vocabulary is going down, so we got 8 more minutes.
Ja. Was ist der Unterschied in meinem Deutsch verglichen mit heute und vor einigen Jahren?
Yeah, it's a real big difference. So for the first time you speak German was Wo ist das Fenster, and compared to where your German is today, it's like you made a really big step. So you improved a lot, and you got so much skills, and yeah, you surprise me every time you come over because you're really doing your homework, and so this is a thumbs up to you and Ferdi. You're doing good, and
Hi Martin, lang nicht gesehen.
Yeah. So, can an old dog learn new tricks? Yes, as I found out. But it's a long journey.
Wir waren campen. Ja.
Das Wetter war sehr gut.
Wetter war Hammer. Wetter war sehr gut.
Sehr
Essen.
gut. Und wie war Moskito?
War ein Scheiß.
Sehr schlecht, ja.
Sehr schlecht. Und alles. Ja.
Und ich denke, dass du wirst sehr beschäftigt vor deiner Reise.
Stimmt. Ja.
Und ich wundere mich, wenn ob du die Zeit für
As you can see, I have a long way to go. But as one of my German teachers told me, it's better to speak bad German than no German at all.
And I also have a worksheet for you.
Okay, great.
And this time it's about our perfect and then conjugated. This will be your homework.
Okay, great.
So yes, it's been a long journey, and it continues to be a great journey that has been very rewarding and a heck of a lot of fun.
Okay.
You're having trouble with thrush.
I don't get that throaty sound right. I'm sorry. Rechts